Welcome back to episode 5 of Entr'acte with Julia. I'm Julia Choi, a violinist with the Met Orchestra, and you'll get to meet great musicians as people and listen to all their amazing life stories. My guest today is Joseph Anderer, recently retired principal horn of the Met Orchestra. Joe began his Met career in 1984 and has served many roles as acting principal horn, third horn, and ultimately was appointed principal horn by James Levine in 2003, a position he held until this season in 2020. In his spare time, Joe is also principal horn of Orchestra St. Luke's, where he is a founding member. I am honored to speak with Joe today and can't wait for you to meet him. Hi Joe, it's really amazing to have you on the show today. Thank you so much for your time and being so generous to share all your experiences with us. You need no introduction, but for all the non-musicians listening out there, Joe is the most recently retired principal horn player of the Met Orchestra, and he started in 1984, so this would be his 36th season. Am I right?
That's correct.
Yeah, wow. Joe, thank you for your service and your sacrifice. Joe has the most incredible stories and life stories, so I can't wait to hear about everything in narration. So, firstly, I would love for you to tell us about you and your background and your upbringing. Where were you born and raised, and where have you lived? And will you tell us the story about how you got into playing the horn, and was it by choice, or did someone start you on the instrument, and how?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me here. I thought of myself as being like ancient history, but
No.
my family had a piano, and my mother decided I ought to take lessons because we had a piano. And I was never very good at the piano, but I got interested in music. And when I decided to go when I went to high school, I decided I wanted to be in the band.
Mm-hmm.
And they had to figure out what instrument I should play. They played a bunch of them for us, and I ended up, wasn't my first choice, but
What
I
was
ended
your
up
first choice?
clarinet. My wife finds that funny for some reason,
That's,
but
yeah.
anyway, when I said that my second choice was the French horn, they grabbed me by the collar and brought me over to the horn teacher because there are never volunteers for the horn.
It's a hard instrument,
Well,
right?
yeah, and nobody really, I mean, I didn't play a wind instrument until I went to high school.
I see.
So he looked at my teeth and he said, yeah, he'll be fine. In his Italian accent, he was a
Yeah,
old Italian guy. He was fantastic.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Um, what do teeth have to do with the horn for people who
Well,
don't know?
you know, you press the mouthpiece against your teeth,
Mm-hmm.
and some people actually have a problem where if a tooth sticks out, they get little cuts. I never had that problem.
Oh,
But I
wow.
think all our teeth gradually shift a little bit during our lifetime, so we're always adapting.
Right.
But anyway, I started playing. They sent me home with a horn. I started fooling around with it, and then when the summer was over, I started playing in the band.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't have an orchestra, but we had a band, and the band conductor was Bill McLaughlin, who
Uh-huh.
a lot of people know from his radio shows. He was music director in Kansas City later. Uh, he played trombone in the Pittsburgh Symphony for a few years,
Right.
but he
Yeah.
was still a student at Temple University.
Okay.
And this was his this was a little gig that he did,
Mm-hmm.
and that was so lucky for me. And so between him and my horn teacher, who had been a student of, see, oh, I can't get it. This picture in the background,
I see it.
that's Anton Horner.
Okay.
He was the first horn in Philadelphia in the old days, and he taught at Curtis, and he taught a whole generation of players.
Mm-hmm.
And my teacher was one of those guys, and he
Yeah.
was in his late 70s, and he was a real gentleman. And it was great to study with him, and progressed pretty well. Who knows why?
Yeah, you've
Uh,
had a really great succession of guidance, and
yeah.
that's really extremely important for a young musician training to be in the field.
Hmm.
So, do you want to elaborate a little more about that?
Well, yeah, Bill and also Bob Fitzpatrick, you may know from Curtis. I don't know.
I
But
do
he
not.
was still there. He was the dean for a while, but
Yeah.
he was the Bill's successor when he went to Pittsburgh. And those guys really kind of pointed me in the right directions. And one of the things was an outfit called Symphony Club. I don't know. I think it still exists, but it went
I've
way,
heard of it for
way,
sure.
way back. I
Yeah.
mean, the Fleischer collection at the Free Library, which is the world's largest collection of orchestra.
Wow.
Uh, this was their orchestra at one time. Stokey used to go recruiting
Yeah.
their rehearsals. And anyway, it was really a community orchestra, but we read a different symphonic program every week.
Oh my goodness.
And I had to learn to transpose. We have to, as horn players, we have to learn to transpose.
Oh my God.
And so
Yeah.
here I was, I was like 16 or something. That it was a great experience for me.
Great.
And these guys kind of pushed me to go there.
Yeah.
And it was fabulous. And then when I was playing at Symphony Club, there was a woman who heard me play one summer, and she recommended me to a woman named Shirley Curtis.
Hmm.
She was an amazing woodwind coach, and Dan Shelley in our orchestra is one of her. She was his teacher
Hmm.
on the bassoon.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, she,
There's that connection then.
yeah, yeah. And she just died recently, and I was going to play at her memorial, but then all this COVID thing
I
happened.
know.
So, but she was fabulous, and she was very instrumental for me
Right.
in my direction in my career, or my musical preferences, which largely were chamber music.
Hmm.
And I always played in the wind quintet for as long as I could do it with the, until the Met schedule kind of prevented it. And but she was a huge help to me, and settlement school was a huge help to me.
Yeah.
And he lined up lessons when my teacher died
Hmm.
for $1.
Oh my God. That
We
is
didn't have
so
any
nice.
money. We didn't. My father died when I was very young. Really, she helped make sure that I got lessons. And
That's amazing.
Settlement is a great school. I don't know whether you're familiar with it from Philadelphia, but
I've heard of it. Yeah, for sure.
yeah, they were very helpful. And
Yeah, I had no
anyway,
idea you spent so much of your time in Philly.
well, I
And
left after high school.
yeah, yeah, but I actually played with the Philly Orchestra for 4 years as an extra also. So, I mean, that was such an amazing experience for me. And so I know when you say Stokey, I mean Sikorsky and
Hmm.
Ormandy as well. Those people were well before my time, of course.
Well, I
But
went to a lot of their concerts.
yeah, wow. I wish I could have seen and experienced that too. But
I
I
played
hear,
one time with the Philly Orchestra.
when was
They,
that?
3 or 4 years ago, they do this fundraiser. They call it the Academy Ball.
Yeah, I think I actually played in
It's
that
the
one.
only time now
Yeah,
that you play at the Academy of Music, but that's where I
right.
heard them when I was growing up. And
That's where the sound came about, right? And the
I just
Philly
filled
sound.
in this one night, and it was a real thrill to
Yeah, it's really
be able
fun
to
to
do
play
that.
there. But yeah, I just hear so many great stories about how they've shaped the Philly sound there. And
Mhm.
so it's really cool to hear all your stories for me because I can put all these names to faces when you speak about places like Temple and Curtis. And so I
Well, my
know,
teachers went to Temple,
yeah,
both Bill and Bob Fitzpatrick.
yeah, in prep for, reading through your story and everything for this podcast, it made me smile so much. So I know where all these places are and what they look like. So it makes it extra special for me to hear these experiences.
Hmm.
And just going back to transposition for a little bit. Oh my goodness. I am so glad I don't have to transpose for a living, and I know you have to all the time. And I actually did my fair share of transposition and ear training class during college. You had to take ear training as well, right, at Juilliard?
Sure. But I
Um,
couldn't transpose something on the keyboard.
oh my God, that was
No
a
way.
nightmare. I was a teaching assistant actually for ear training at Juilliard for
Oh,
3 years.
hmm.
Um, so it was a prerequisite to go through all the training until level 4. We're required, in college to only pass 2 levels, and then it's an option to take more. But I had to do up to 4, and one of the things that we had to do was transpose a Bach chorale into soprano, alto, tenor, and bass clefs, and then play 3 voices on the piano while singing 1 in solfege. So it was just a huge mind game for me, and it was horrible. And by the way, soprano, alto, and tenor clefs are not your usual treble and bass clefs, that most of us
Oh,
know.
I remember ear training. I didn't do ear training for. I think I was getting too busy working at that point.
Yeah, that's awesome. Transposing was my worst nightmare, so
I do remember reading chorales in four
yeah,
clefs,
yeah.
but not transposing them and maybe not playing all 4 voices. But
They
yeah,
took it up a couple levels after,
sure.
yeah, as it progressed. But yeah, transposing was really my nightmare because I also have perfect pitch. So this is actually more of a handicap, than a help if you have to transpose because you hear a note and this note is a certain note and a certain letter, but then you're trying to cancel that out in your brain. So it's just a whole mind boggle.
I think that's true for a lot of people. And also if you hear at, oh, say you're used to hearing at 442 or 444, and
That
then
too.
somebody's playing at 440, it's a nightmare.
I know. Yeah, and we play at 440. So, and
Well, Verbier, and you've been to Verbier, right?
yeah, I was there when you were a coach, but I never got to say hi. So,
Yeah, I didn't. I don't remember you from there. What year were you there?
I was there 2015.
Okay.
Yeah, so not too long ago. Yeah, those are really great experiences too.
Oh, sure.
And you're still
I
going,
I
right?
love that. Yeah. Well, of course we couldn't go this
This
time.
summer, but hopefully next year.
I miss all those people.
Yeah.
It's
So you spent
everywhere
a bunch of your time in Philly, right? And then after high school, you went to
until high school.
Juilliard.
Yes, I went to Juilliard. I would come back actually on the weekends, because I taught at my old high school after my teacher died. I taught the horn players, and
Hmm.
I would always go to hear the Philly Orchestra. So I have those guys in my ear. Quite frankly, I got my mother to do my laundry too.
Hey, I could relate on that too, actually. It's, I mean, for people who don't know, it's hard to do laundry in the city because you don't have it in your unit for the most part, for most.
Yeah,
So you have to go to the basement or you have to go to the laundromat to do it. So it's a real luxury to actually do your laundry. So
no kidding. Yeah, I mean, just the practical elements of
that's so
living
funny.
in New York. Well, now, of course, we have a laundry room in our house, but we lived in New York till, well, it was about 15 years ago, so a
I
very
see.
long time. We're in Weehawken, just across the river.
Oh, okay. In New
Yeah, we're
Jersey.
just like on the other side of the Lincoln Tunnel.
Awesome. Do you take the ferry also?
I have taken the ferry, but
But it's
it's
not your preferred way.
no, it's very expensive, and then it leaves you by the river, and then you have to get into Midtown or wherever
Yeah,
you're going. So it's much easier to just take the bus to the Port Authority.
right. That's true.
Practical knowledge for people who don't need it.
Exactly. But the commute it can be brutal sometimes, it could take up to 2 hours. So you just have
Going
to
into
really,
work for an opera in the evening is a very slow process, but
yeah.
sometimes if we have a really long opera, my wife will drive into New York and pick me up,
Oh,
and the
that's so
round trip
nice.
takes like 20 minutes.
Oh my God.
It's very fast if there's no traffic.
Yeah.
Because
Taking the car is definitely the best way, but then you have to worry about parking if you don't have a garage. So there are all these things with commuting. But let's talk about you. Let's go back to you. So, let's talk about Juilliard a little bit. You enjoyed their time there, right? How would you
yeah, I
describe
mean,
it?
what's great about Juilliard is the other students.
Yeah.
Um, we, I mean, I had a great teacher. I had a lot of great teachers, but you only see them once or twice a week at most.
Hmm.
And you're around the other students all the time, and you learn so much from them. And I was there with some really fabulous people. So it was a great environment for me because I had only been playing for like 3.5 years. So,
Hmm.
you know, it was, I needed to be in a pressure cooker kind of
That's great. Yeah.
situation. But it was a great place for me. And so I had really good teachers, and some of them started hiring me while I was still in
Oh
school.
my goodness, you
And
must have been so good.
well, I don't know, but there was a time when the Philharmonic had a kind of an emergency. One of the guys got sick, and
Okay.
they called me in to play that night with Bernstein. And
Wow.
yeah, at the last minute, and I
That's
played a recording
amazing.
session the next morning, and it was kind of nerve-wracking, you know.
Oh,
But
I bet.
that year, there were a couple of people that left their sub list.
Hmm.
One guy left New York. Another guy actually became a member of the orchestra. So they had to work on their sub list, and
Okay.
somehow I ended up being number 3, which
Wow.
means if a Mahler symphony or a big Strauss tone poem has 8 horn parts, usually they would need 3 extra players.
Hmm.
So being number 3 on that list was,
That's pretty amazing. So you got to play everything.
I got paid a lot of money because,
Yeah.
you know, but it was a great experience playing with, well, Bernstein, Boulez, Haitink,
Wow.
all these really amazing conductors, Kubelik, us. I
You got all the
can't even
legends.
tell
You
you
got all the big
that.
names in
Yeah,
there.
it was really incredible, and
Yeah.
I did a lot of touring with them eventually.
Hmm.
And so I was there for 14 years as an extra while I was freelancing, while I was playing chamber music, doing a whole shitload of ballet.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh my
there was a
God. How many?
ballet boom because of this movie that Shirley MacLaine did.
Uh-huh.
The Breaking Point or something, I forget. But it triggered a kind of a big ballet boom, and the Met used to produce a summer ballet season even
Hmm.
after American Ballet Theater was finished.
Oh
They
my
could
God.
do
I had
6 or
no idea about that.
7 weeks of ballet.
Yeah.
And they could
Wow.
sell it in those days because it was just a very popular thing. I actually did even a little bit of opera. I played with the Opera Orchestra of New York with Eve Queller
Hmm.
and played Strauss and Wagner with her, but it was kind of useless when I got to the Met because we did like Rienzi, and the Strauss things were Guntram
Hmm.
and Die Liebe der Danai, which nobody plays.
Right?
The thing that was great about her series was that she did these operas that nobody else did,
Hmm.
that sometimes the stories were so silly, but the music was really good. And that was a really, really fascinating job. I mean, that was one of the sort of highlights when I was in my early freelance days. But I did a lot of that kind of stuff.
That's
Not
incredible.
too much opera other than that, although I did sub at Porgy and Bess at Radio City.
Oh my God.
And there was a night when I was subbing. I didn't play it like as a regular, but I subbed the first oboist from City Opera,
Hmm.
and we were in some corridor after the show trying to find the exit. And I don't know whether you've ever been to Radio City, but it really is a labyrinth. It's worse than the Met. And this guy looked at me and he says, "How do I get out of here?" And
It's like a maze.
it was the perfect setup. I said, "Practice."
Yeah.
It's like the old Carnegie Hall joke, but in reverse.
That's hilarious.
So, but I did that. I
Yeah.
did Clemenza di Tito at Juilliard.
Okay.
Now we do at the Met. But both those operas were new my first year.
Hmm.
So all these other operas, well, you know what it's like. You come in and you don't know anything. You have
Right.
to learn all these pieces all at once. A
Ugh.
huge stack of music, you
And
know.
they're just so long.
Well,
So,
yeah, but the ones that I had played, Porgy and Tito, nobody else had played. So when we were rehearsing those, see, I was always like a fish out of water, rehearsing all these new pieces. But
Mhm.
then when we played those two, I was also a fish out of water because nobody
Right.
else knew them. It was kind of hilarious,
Yeah.
but it was
Oh my
fun.
goodness.
It was it was so crazy. I got to play that season. They somebody retired at the last minute, and I got to play first horn for my first year,
Wow.
and and then later on I was brought into the orchestra, which is another really crazy story. But
Yeah, can't wait to hear about that. What else did you do in your freelance career after
well, I
college?
played with a group called the Böhm Quintet, which
Okay.
we commissioned a lot of pieces from really good composers, Charles Warren and Ben Weber, and we did a lot of um, the standard stuff, and got to other people to write new music, and that was my spiritual base, maybe you would say. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, when I played Broadway, I thought it never bothered me that I'm doing something like over and over and over again until it gets boring, because
Mm.
it supported my quintet habit. My
Yeah.
quintet used to say, if you have to ask what a gig pays, you can't afford to do it. But
That's
I
true.
loved it. And I always played in the quintet for a long, 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 long time.
Uh-huh.
And also a New York Chamber Soloists, Festival Winds, a little bit with Orpheus. I mean, a lot of other, as much chamber music as I could manage.
Wow.
That was really the direction I wanted to go in until
Until
the
the
whole
Met
thing
happened.
with the Met.
Yeah,
That really changed my life.
I
You
see.
know?
So your favorite gig over all of these different ways was probably chamber music, right? With your quintet.
Still is. I mean, when I have a chance to play a Schubert octet or something like that, I've been a member of St. Luke's now.
Mm-hmm.
36 years at the Met. I've been with St.
Wow.
Luke's for 46 years.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and we just did a video of a beautiful piece by an English composer, which used to make in English, uh, Eleanor Alberga. We just did this for our education program. It's horn and string quartet, Western Hemisphere premiere or something like that. But
Wow.
it was really fun to do. It was really fun to
Are
do.
you still playing with St. Luke's?
Yeah, well, this was just a couple of weeks ago.
Oh,
It was
okay.
maybe the same week that you played at the Mena. We did this thing.
I
When I saw
see.
that you did a session at that's our home.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, totally. That was just last week, or
Yeah.
right? Oh my
Well,
goodness.
I don't know exactly, but it was just a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. I
So
can't tell if today is Sunday or Monday or Friday
yeah,
anymore.
like
It
is it
doesn't
still
even
the
matter.
weekend? What's a
Yeah, right?
weekend? What's a weekend?
And then we just had Labor Day actually, and I was like, oh, well, happy Labor Day, you know?
I know it's crazy, but
But
yeah.
yeah, that's
So
really awesome.
every day's a holiday.
Exactly.
But I
Oh
actually
wow.
did work for a couple of days.
Yeah, exactly. That's the ironic
So it
part.
was really great to get back together with my friends, but it was very
Hmm.
hard because I hadn't played with other people really in 6 months.
Yeah, I know. You just have to get back into it, and it takes a little time to, you
Yeah.
know. So you loved doing all this freelance work, and you were
Oh,
super,
yeah.
yeah, super busy doing it. And so, how did you transition into becoming a full-time orchestra member? And one at the Met, where we have, the busiest of all orchestra jobs.
Well, I hate to tell you this, but when I was freelancing, my schedule was nuts.
Yeah.
And when I got to the Met, everybody's saying, oh, it's exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
It's so, and
It
it's
is.
true, but for me, it was almost like a vacation. It was like, this is
Wow.
so bad.
Oh my
What do
God.
I have? 9 services a week, or even if they're long.
Yeah.
I mean, my first opera was Eugene Onegin, and it was like 3 hours and 40 minutes, and
Mhm.
I couldn't believe it when we hit the 3.5 hour mark. I just thought I was going to die, but it was just brain fatigue. And you get
Yeah.
used to it. You get used to, it didn't take very long,
Okay.
but there's an adaptation. But the overall schedule, it was easier than what I'd been.
Uh-huh. Wow, that's not something I've heard before. I mean, it's definitely a different kind of grind, right? So
Yeah,
when you get there,
it is relentless
yeah, it is. It's more of a mental fatigue kind of thing because you have to sit there for so long. And we
unless you're
do.
playing the ring.
Oh my God. I had
That's
to,
physical too.
yeah, I was actually subbing for that last year during that season.
Hmm.
I sat in front of
I
you.
remember that. I said,
I
"You
was your
remember who I
stand
was?"
partner.
Because I thought, well, oh, you're that guy? Oh, I didn't
Yeah.
know who was back there.
No, of course I knew who you were. I was just afraid to say hi, but yeah. Anyway, so can you tell us a little bit about what it was like for you to join the Met and actually the story of how you got in and how you auditioned?
Well, first of all, I never sent in an application letter because I didn't think I had time to prepare a recording for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I was doing a little extra stage band kind of things for a couple of years before that. And the guys knew me, and I actually played some freelance things with them too. And they're telling me that I was crazy not to take the audition, but I really didn't think I could present them with something on tape that would be worthwhile. So I didn't really do anything. And then I got a letter saying I was passed out of the tape round.
Wow. Can you imagine if you
They
hadn't
knew
sent
me,
that in?
but I just like I couldn't believe that.
Wow.
And then I don't know how much longer it was after that, but then this other gentleman decided to retire,
Hmm.
and they had a first horn opening, and they needed to fill it. They needed to fill in somebody for the year so they could schedule the audition. So I was actually playing the job, or I took the audition.
Yeah.
So in
Wow.
sometime in October, we had the auditions, and I was invited to I guess the semifinals because I
Okay.
was already playing in the orchestra. And I remember the day of the audition, which there was a runner-up. The day of the audition, I had to come back and play Eugene Onegin. And
Wow. Oh my gosh.
I was brain dead, let me tell you.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, trying to do that's sort of like me. I took the audition last year around May, and that's literally when we were playing the ring cycle. We were in the middle
Oh,
of it. So that I can relate in that way for sure.
yeah, no kidding.
It
Wow.
was hard. I mean, it was just a lot of stamina that you have to build up, you know?
Yeah, sure. That starts to get to be really physical.
Yeah,
And I know for you guys playing like Figaro, like that can be also if you have to play it.
it's taxing for your.
That plus some other big opera the same day. And, I think the hardest thing about the job is actually being prepared to play 4 or 5 different operas all in the same week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
It's very different from a symphonic job in that sense.
right.
And one of the best things is that the casts are always changing. The people you're sitting around are always changing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always different. It's never routine.
Right,
I think that is one of the great side effects of the
for
way that
sure.
has to be organized.
Yeah, the personnel is always changing around you. You
Hmm.
don't know who you're playing with that specific day, and it might always be changing and just at the last minute too, in case someone gets sick. But it does keep you on your toes and keeps things really exciting in that regard.
And sometimes you don't see some of your colleagues for like 3 weeks at a time.
That's true.
It's a little
Yeah, where are you?
disconcerting.
Yeah, you think they're on vacation, but they're just actually playing the other shows, the alternate ones.
Uh, Not the first time I played Rheingold, but uh, the first broadcast I did of Rheingold, the second horn player had broken his arm, and I was playing like assistant. I wasn't. I played like when they first brought me in the orchestra. I called myself last horn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He broke his arm, and my first time of stepping in to play Rheingold, which has so many second horn solos, was the broadcast.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I mean, there were lots of times like that where, you know, crazy things happened,
Yeah.
but it made it fun.
And can you elaborate a little bit about what the different roles are between maybe Principal Horn and because you had this unique situation where you've got to sit in different
But
so
different chairs. Well, as a freelancer, I did that all the time.
Uh-huh.
And I like playing second. I like being in a supporting role. I mean, I
Yeah.
like and when you play second, you're playing more in the lower register, and I like doing that some of the time.
Mm-hmm.
I played second just for one season at the Met, but I
Okay.
ended up, because of this guy injuring himself, I ended up playing all the second horn on the first ring recordings, the videos, the video,
Wow.
and it just worked out that way. And then the third horn player retired, and they asked me if I wanted to play third, and that was really great. I mean,
It's just like
I,
you're playing musical chairs in the Met,
yeah,
in the horn section.
I've always enjoyed the variety. I've always
Yeah.
played chamber music, to play with St. Luke's Orchestra, to do, chamber orchestra, things like that. So that to me was a great situation.
Yeah. So I've been told if I'm looking for the greatest stories at the Met, you're the person to go to. So can you share maybe 3 to 5 or, however many favorite
Well, I,
stories?
I can tell you some good stories. I
Yeah.
mean, all right, let's start from my first season. One of the first things I did, not playing first, but when I became a regular member of the orchestra,
Hmm.
uh, Falstaff. I don't know if you played Falstaff yet.
I have
The
not.
final scene starts with an offstage horn solo, alone.
Hmm.
It's not particularly difficult, but it's alone, and sets the atmosphere. When I played that, they would call me to the stage, like, I don't know, sometime before the end of the previous scene. So I had to be there for the scene change, and they had these panels that were 30 feet high or something. It did just, and I had to be on the stage because the
Hmm.
stage managers would go crazy if I wasn't there. And I had to be there in the middle of all this. And there are little kids running around. There's livestock. There were dogs
Oh
and
my
this
God.
and that. And there was a changing booth to the soprano. And then finally things settled down and we were getting ready to play. And the guy who was the chorus director, he was great, but he was kind of a nerve ending. And
Hmm.
he would be looking at the monitor,
Oh my God.
and it's got to be a very calm. You're setting the atmosphere for this forest scene.
Right.
They're in Windsor Forest, and if you just have to tune everything out.
Oh
It's so
God.
crazy to play on the stage, and just a short solo like that. But that was really it was
Wow.
an education in itself.
Yeah. I
And
mean, the conductor really does set the tone for a lot of these things
well,
that we have to
the
do.
way
So,
when we play something like that on the stage, we have somebody who's watching the monitor for
yeah.
the real conductor. So
Right.
it's his responsibility to follow,
Mm.
but we have to take the cues from him.
Right.
There was one time when we did a version of Carmen that Domingo conducted. He had some score. After there's a prelude in the third act with the flute solo, beautiful piece. The next thing that happens is the horns play an octave, bang, and
Hmm.
then there's a timpani roll, and then.
Like a
And
far away
the
version.
Domingo score said the far away one should be played from the stage.
Uh-oh.
So two of us had to show up to play one note. That was our job. And there was one time the guy who was supposed to be helping us, one night he said, "Play, that's you." He didn't even really give us a cue. And
Oh
we sort
no.
of stumbled in. And then the next time I said, "Look, we really need to just take a breath." And he said, "All right, all right." And he brought us in a bar early, and people
Oh
kept
no.
laughing. Always a nightmare playing on the stage.
Yeah.
And then there's, well, I don't know whether you've heard about the dogs in Rosen Cavalier.
Yeah, I saw them. Actually, I got to play it this year, so I'm really
Okay,
happy
well,
about that.
the old production, um, uh, when I first saw it at the Met, before I was in the orchestra, Carl
Hmm.
Byrne was conducting. And I forget exactly what the line is, but this guy comes on and he's showing the marshal, and he has these animals with him, and little dogs, so little,
Hmm.
and already housebroken.
Right. They're
And
running around.
there was one night, you probably have to edit this out, but there's one night that Carl Byrne was conducting, and he
Hmm.
started laughing. And he turned to the conductor, I mean, to the concertmaster. And the guy didn't know what he was laughing about. And he's pointing at the stage because there were two dogs up there. He said, "See how fucking."
Oh no.
After that, there was only one dog.
Oh my God, what did they do with those dogs? Just like
Well,
brought them.
we also, I think you've heard already about the sheep that got fired.
No, I didn't. Can you tell us?
Oh, and that was in, maybe it was a rehearsal of Falstaff,
Hmm.
but they had, like I say, they in the old production they had all these livestock in the last scene, and there was one year they had, it was sheep or goats, and they started in the middle of rehearsal going, and they got fired.
Yeah, so animals can get fired too, basically.
Yeah,
Very easily. That's funny.
that was quite an event.
Wow.
And then you've heard about the June bugs in Staten Island.
Yes, yeah, Nancy told
Yeah,
us
well,
in the other episode.
I was sitting right in front of the chorus, right in
Hmm.
the back row, when one of them flew into somebody's cleavage, and it was quite an event. But you know that we were doing Lucia di Lammermoor. The poor woman who's singing Lucia, you can't do that without having your mouth wide open most of the time. And
Right.
these bugs were dive bombing the stage. So they had to
Oh,
call an early intermission, turn all the lights off. Anyway, that was quite an event.
you never know what's going to happen.
Well, the following October,
Hmm.
I have these, they're little bits of foam that I put through my horn because it helps to get the condensation out of it, or, to
Hmm.
clean out the tubes. And I put one of these things through my horn. It's funny, you put it in the one end and just blow hard, and it just whips through the horn.
Okay,
It comes out in your hand in the bell,
that's
like
awesome.
there.
What a nice way to clean the horn.
Yeah, well, this
Uh-oh.
greasy black thing came out,
Oh,
and it was a June bug from 3 months earlier.
that's
It was
nasty.
it was the most disgusting thing I
Oh
ever
my
saw
God. It
in
was
my
still a solid thing in there.
it, yes. I
Wow.
mean, I knew what it was. It was just this black greasy thing,
Uh-huh.
but I knew what it was because it couldn't have been anything else.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. How did it fit through the mouthpiece? I guess it went through the
It,
belt,
it went
right?
into the bell.
Yeah, and it
It
just
flew in there or something, and it just was
and
sort of,
it's
and
just
it
been
worked its way into the tubing when I
yeah,
would put it in the case or whatever. It would get turned around, and it was stuck in my horn
for three
for like
months.
3 months.
It was just hanging out in there.
Oh,
Maybe it
horrifying.
just recently passed. I'm so glad you got it out.
Yeah, I almost lost it though.
Does it sound better? Does your horn sound
Well,
better?
it wasn't. You can have a lot of junk in your horn, and it
Uh-huh.
doesn't matter that much. I mean, I have seen people spit things out of their horn, actually onto my clothing sometimes,
Wow.
and it doesn't seem to. The vibration goes through
I see.
anyway. But I've had two very famous players just take the horn and go, and
Yeah.
this thing came out and landed on my arm.
Oh.
Anyway, I'm sorry. I don't.
No, this is actually really fascinating for me because I don't know any of this stuff, as a
A
violinist.
violinist would never have this problem.
Yeah. I mean, there are things that go through the holes on in the front of
Yeah,
the violin. But
big
that's
problem.
usually just like hair and dust balls, that kind of stuff. So we don't have anything as remotely interesting as yours. Just because it's a smaller opening, so June
Sure,
bugs wouldn't fit in there.
good for you.
But yeah, right? What was your favorite opera to play? And what's your favorite opera in general? And do you have a most memorable one, if you're sitting out there in the audience listening?
My favorite opera is probably the same as almost everybody. Is Rosenkavalier.
Mm-hmm.
Never got over it. I just always have loved that opera, and it's a lot of fun to play.
Yes.
Um, but I have a kind of a weird thing about Lulu. I just always loved
Uh-huh.
opera. and I played it, in 1974 in Spoleto.
Wow.
The production that was directed by Roman Polanski, believe it or
Is
not.
this the Spoleto in Charleston
No, this was
or in
a real
Italy? The
Spoleto.
real one.
Yeah, this is
I've only been to the fake one. So.
long before long before Charleston.
Hmm.
The original festival was in Umbria in Italy,
Yeah.
and I played like 3 summers there.
Oh, that's
And
awesome.
I was already freelancing, and I was pretty busy. It was my first year that I toured with Philharmonic, but I really wanted to play Lulu, so I thought,
Hmm.
well, if I win this audition, and it's about the only audition I ever won, actually. I've been
Wow.
runner up a lot of times, but I really wanted to play Lulu, and so I went that year, and it was quite an experience.
Yeah. And I'm sure the production was really great too, every time
It
you've seen it.
was where we sat in the pit. I couldn't see much,
Right.
but I know that it was very bloody.
Hmm.
There's one character who kills himself off stage, but in this production, he goes upstairs, looks in a mirror, right?
Yeah.
He goes,
Ooh. Did you see that from the pit?
I did see that at some point, and
Oh my
also
God.
when Lulu shoots Dr. Shern,
Hmm.
it was staged so that Shern had his back to the audience, so she is aiming out to the audience, and they had a problem with the chicken blood spraying on the string
Oh
in the
my
pit,
God.
so
Yeah.
they had to really tone that down. This was
They actually
really,
used real chicken blood?
yeah, it was, yeah. As far as I know, it wasn't human.
Well, at least that. But oh my goodness,
Well,
background stuff.
at
So,
that time, I mean, some of Polanski's films are pretty bloody too. So, and it was right around the time when Chinatown came out, and that's where somebody slices Jack Nicholson's nose open on
hmm.
camera. I mean, it was, but it was fun. And he was walking down the street one day, Polanski,
Hmm.
in Spoleto, and he saw this guy. Now we were doing the 2-act version where she ends up getting killed by Jack the Ripper, and it's a mime role. There's no
Hmm.
singing involved. In the 3-act version, some of the characters from the first couple of acts come back as different people.
Hmm.
But in this version, Jack the Ripper is a mime role, and he sees this guy and he says, "Come here." And just some guy on the street, he hired him to play Jack the Ripper. The
Oh
guy
my
did
God.
it. Well, but it was an easy gig. All he had to do was stab Lulu to death.
That's true. Wow.
It
Yeah,
was an interesting summer.
you've got the best stories. And yeah, so I guess that was your most memorable opera too, right?
Well, yeah, I've always had a soft spot for that opera. But if you ask what from the audience, if I have one, there was a night not so long ago that they did a run of Meistersinger,
Okay.
and the night we went, I think it had been I can't think of his name, but he's the guy who did Flying Dutchman with us. He's great at
Hmm.
bass, but he was not there. And Jimmy Morris, who has been, I mean, I remember him from before I started at the Met, thinking, oh, I love this guy's voice.
Wow.
He's been around for, I don't know, at least 40 years,
Hmm.
more, as a really major singer. And he came in and sang Hans Sachs, which is a really huge role. And it was really beautiful. And I'll never forget it. That was an amazing night. I mean, it was a really good performance overall. And I loved that production. It was an auto shake production, but that was really,
Yeah, it's vivid in your memory. We have so many performances, a season, over 200 a year. And, to think that you did this for 36 years, let's do the
yeah,
math. That's like roughly 7,000, you know, 7,200 opera shows. I mean, granted, you didn't play all of them, but, around there it
right.
must be.
But the really hard weeks was when I was trying to do a concert at Carnegie Hall with the St. Luke's Orchestra at the same time.
Oh my
And,
God.
things like that, or if there was somebody doing a film score or something,
Yeah,
so the hours could get really long when you start
right.
putting all that in. But
Wow.
I told you before, freelance was worse. This
Right.
this wasn't so bad,
So that's
and I'm
another
done
take
with
on
it.
it.
I'm done with all that.
That's
I don't
awesome.
have to do that anymore.
Right. And you relax now. But how did you balance your work and your life outside of work when you were doing this?
Well, you do have to give it a lot of thought. And one of the great things is that we had a lot of time during the summer,
Mm-hmm.
and we did a lot of great traveling. We did so much hiking in Switzerland.
Oh, that's so nice.
And when my wife and I first got together, we decided to go to Italy because we
Mm-hmm.
both love Italy. And I said, "Oh, do you mind if we spend a few days in Switzerland?" She said, "Oh, I don't know. "Oh, okay." And
Uh-huh.
we got hooked really fast.
It's so
On
beautiful
both
there.
countries, you know. And yeah, we've done hiking all over different parts of Switzerland.
Wow.
So being able to do that in the summer, it
Yeah,
really recharges your batteries.
for sure. Yeah. Gives you a chance to relax and,
Hmm.
get ready for the next season, really.
Yeah,
So,
and just to find, I always have to make an effort to find the time when I don't have to work to that we can do something. We go to the theater a lot.
mm-hmm.
Well, we
Wow.
did.
Which is your favorite theater to go to?
Oh well, we're not particularly into musicals, although we did actually. We've both done Stephen Sondheim musical
Oh.
in the old days. In fact, Virginia and I, we don't know when we met, but we
Mm-hmm.
we were both part of the orchestra for A Little Night Music in 1973. It was my first job out of school,
Wow.
on Broadway, and we got to know each other then.
Okay,
But
so you
we
met
didn't.
freelancing, basically.
Yeah, we met freelancing, and we knew each other for a gazillion years, and
Wow.
we played at American Ballet Theater for a few years, and we finally got it together to get together in 1990. And we got married in
Wow.
98.
That's
It's
awesome.
yeah, but it took us a long time to get there.
Yeah. She's a horn player, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, she's not hardly playing at all anymore. She's
Okay.
even playing less than I am right now.
Uh-huh. I see.
But yes, but we had play Alphorns together sometimes.
Oh, that's so nice. And it's so nice to, just have someone in your home to play with, chamber
Hmm.
music when you want to. Just
We
for
actually have done. Maybe we'll be able to put it out one of these days. But we've been working on a piece, an arrangement of a beautiful Tchaikovsky piece for horn and piano. Because she was a very good pianist at one time,
Wow.
so she's been practicing a little bit,
Oh,
and
that's awesome.
maybe we'll
I can't wait to
put
see
it
it.
online one of these days. I don't know,
Please,
we'll see.
yeah. I would love to see it on Facebook or whatever, on
That's
YouTube.
been one of our little projects.
Yeah. And, this is a perfect segue. What do you plan to do in
Well,
retirement?
the two things that I thought I'd like to do, one I sort of planned, and the other I didn't really see coming. I wanted to learn more about cooking, some of the classic Roman dishes.
Wow.
My cousin had a Roman trattoria. He makes cacio e pepe, you wouldn't believe, and it's a very simple dish, but it's not so easy to do. Right now, he has a restaurant called Anton's. We just got
Wow.
there last week down on Hudson Street,
Uh-huh.
and it's fabulous. And we sat outside, but they had a very good crowd, and it was really nice. But
Wow.
he was like a Roman chef for years. He had two restaurants where he did that sort of Italian thing, even though he's half Japanese. He
Wow, that's so
studied in
cool.
Rome.
Yeah.
He studied art history in Rome. Came back and he started cooking around, and he ended up uh, kind of creating Maialino and Marta.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's gone off on his own, and they have this place, Anton's, which is named after Anton Anderer. First
Wow.
first one to come here from Germany. It's his great great grandfather. I started off doing more Italian stuff, but that's been really fun. And then I just started writing little pieces on Facebook,
Yeah, I've seen
and a
them.
lot of people seem to really appreciate them. The reason I do them is because it's such a hard time, and I don't really want to get into all this political stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a way for people to get a little something
Yeah, for
to
sure.
chew on,
No,
and
it's great that you're doing all that because it
and
makes,
I'm really enjoying writing, and people are encouraging
yes,
me to do more of it. So I probably
it's
will.
great. I love hearing, I love reading your stories for sure.
Thank you. It
Yeah.
wasn't my plan, but I just thought I started finding myself doing it. I would come down and I'd start writing something, and it just happened. I didn't really
Wow.
plan it.
That's awesome. I mean, maybe you can write an autobiography or a memoir one
Well,
day.
I don't know. People are saying I should do that. I don't think I would.
Totally.
I don't think I'd be able to really write a sort of a narrative book, but a lot of stories and a lot of people that my friends are would be interested in if they knew more about them, and that's the sort of thing.
Right.
These little vignettes that I've been writing about different people and situations, and uh,
Yeah,
that is, I enjoy doing that. I really write for myself, but it seems that people appreciate it, so
for
I'm gonna keep
sure.
doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great opportunity for, our for the musicians and for the people out there, listening in the audience to feel more connected to us as people, as musicians, and that they'll feel more connected to us and see the orchestra as more of a personalized entity when we return to the stage. And so I think what you're doing is really great.
Maybe I felt like I needed an audience because I didn't have one anymore. I don't know. That's quite
No.
possible. I mean, I
Yeah.
haven't analyzed it. I just started doing it.
Yeah. Well,
So
I think it's great. So please keep doing whatever you're doing. And are you teaching right now as well?
I really don't. Used to teach at a couple of universities, but I haven't done that for a few years. The way I describe it is I didn't want to be institutionalized.
Yeah.
But I do love working at Verdier. That is
Okay.
that is something that is really a highlight of my year. And the people that I know from there, they're fabulous players. They're great
Mm-hmm.
people, and I mean, it's always an experience that it's not just 2 weeks a year.
Right.
It goes on and on and on. So that I really love, and
Yeah. Verbier is really great, just
yeah. So for me,
holistically.
that's
That's your
more or
teaching.
less the teaching. I have also worked with amateur chamber music players for many years,
Okay.
but that also, of course, had to fall by the wayside this year. So
Mm-hmm.
see what happens.
Yeah. Everything's being digitalized now, so
Yeah,
maybe
but I don't
that
know
will.
how you can do a coaching session on a septet on
That's
Zoom.
true. Yeah, that
So I don't know. I mean, I think we'll find our way out of this, and maybe next summer
for
there'll be a
sure.
chance to do something like that.
Um, well, what will you miss most about playing at the Met?
Oh, my colleagues, playing
Yeah.
music with them, hanging out with them,
Hmm.
and all right. I'll be honest. There was one time last 2 year before last, I realized, I used to sometimes I would play Act One and Act Three of Siegfried and then play up on the stage. This time we did it the other way around. So I played in the pit
Hmm.
for Act Two. So that's really all I played. But this one night, I realized it's the last time I'm ever going to play this music.
Mm-hmm.
And I got kind of teary.
Yeah.
It really got to me. So that sort of thing. There's a lot of operas that I didn't cry about,
All right.
my last. But no, I really enjoyed playing the operas,
Mm-hmm.
but especially something like that Siegfried. It really got
Right.
me because I played so many ring cycles. And I
Mm-hmm.
realized this is my last one,
Ugh,
and it just
it's
almost killed
hard to let go.
me. Yeah.
But maybe you'll be back and playing.
Oh well, we'll see.
That would be so much fun. I mean, people do that. Like,
Well,
they'll
yeah,
retire and
you
come
can do
back.
a few performances here and there. Like Michelle Baker's been back for a few things.
Yeah, that would be really
And it's
fun.
great for her to be there.
Hmm.
Everybody's so happy when she's there.
Yeah.
But I don't know. We'll see.
We'll miss you too. What and last question, what advice would you have for young people who are just starting a career in music or in the process of applying to music schools or just on the audition circuit?
Well, I believe in people really not just learning a list of excerpts, but learning the music.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was in high school, I used to walk down from my school was at 12th and Girard, and it was about a mile and a half or so down to the free library. But I
Mm-hmm.
went down there all the time, borrowed music and copied it out by hand.
Wow.
I had no money, I could afford some
Oh
manuscript
my
paper.
goodness.
But to really learn the repertoire, I used to buy scores. I have a huge collection of scores, not just operas, everything. And to really learn these pieces. Now, you don't have to go out and buy the scores anymore.
Mm-hmm.
There's ImSlip.
Yes.
And you can listen to almost anything on YouTube now. So don't just practice. Don't just wear yourself out practicing, but break it up with some serious learning of the repertoire, the whole piece.
Right.
Not just the famous solos. It really is so much easier now. And then to play for as many people as you can play for. If you have an audition or a performance coming up, run that stuff by all your friends, contact a couple teachers. That's the best, I think the best thing. A couple of summers ago, one of the people from Verbier, she was in the New York area after the festival. She had a new job playing first horn at an opera house. And one of the things she was most worried about was playing Billy Budd. And she came by and we started working on this. It's about a 2.5-page excerpt. It's really tough. And we just worked it over. And she got it, but it was really good. Anyway, what my favorite moments from that year was about, 6 months later, I saw she posted something on Facebook. Billy Budd, I have kicked your butt. So I knew it went well.
Yeah.
I was so happy for her.
That's awesome. My goodness. Yeah, I mean that is all really such great advice, and I think it's really
I think it was
important.
good that she was able to play it for me, and I was very happy to work it over with her.
Yeah, it's best to get as many opinions as you can, and use all of that. Use that and make your own thing out of it. I think it's.
And as you and everybody in the orchestra knows, we have to work our butts off.
Yeah.
The preparation. I mean, the preparation is the thing that cuts your nerves too. You really know your business. You're just going to go in and say, okay, everybody, this is what this is supposed to sound like.
It's true.
Just perform. An audition is a performance, not a test. If you think of it as a test, forget it. If you think of it as a performance, that's the root.
Yeah. Very, very wise words from Joe. This was awesome, Joe. Okay, so now we have the fun part where I just ask you a couple of questions and you just say this or that. Rapid fire
lightning
question.
round.
Yeah, the lightning round. Okay, so dogs or cats?
Oh, I love dogs.
Me too.
But
do you have any?
We haven't been able to have a dog. We have had a lot of great cats.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Now, they all died. But we miss all of them, or most of them anyway.
Most of them.
But, no, I love both.
Wine or cocktails or beer?
Oh, I'm a wine drinker.
Okay.
Except I like a martini once in a while. And let me tell you, the martini that Natalie makes at Anton's is the best one I ever had.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna have to check that out.
Never feel like a martini.
Wow.
That's the place to go.
Okay, sounds good. I'm going to check that out.
Either white wine or Pinot Noir, particularly, but no.
Got it. City or suburbs?
I'm a city person.
Me too.
We live in the suburbs, quote unquote, but we're almost in the city, and that's what I love about where we live.
Right. You got the best of both worlds, so that's awesome. Mountains or ocean?
I never could stand the beach when I was a kid. I always loved the mountains.
Okay.
And now, of course, we get to go to Switzerland, so.
Yeah, the best mountains.
How much better could that be?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's pretty great. Ramen or udon?
Well, I don't really know that much of udon dishes, but I love a bowl of ramen once in a while.
Jazz or pop?
Jazz.
Coffee or green tea?
Coffee.
Yeah. Oh, we have to talk about your coffee. What's your method of brewing coffee?
Well, the first thing I do is I roast it.
I
get it in green beans. And so I always have about half dozen different coffees around from all over
Yeah.
the place.
Oh
A
my
lot of
God.
great stuff from Central America.
Uh-huh.
As
Frugal.
you may know, Costa Rica has a lot of great coffee. I always have one or two Costa Rican coffees around, and I do pour over drip. I like press pot, but my wife prefers
Pour over.
the pour over. So that's what we do.
Okay. Wow, you're really serious about your coffee.
Yeah, we only drink it in the morning, really, but we always have a couple of cups different.
Yeah.
I always make 2 different coffees in the morning.
Wow, you're
one
a
of my
serious
things.
aficionado. Books or Netflix?
Both, but I'm a very slow reader, and we've been watching a lot of Netflix.
A lot of Netflix. What's your favorite show? I mean, what are you watching right now?
Oh, we've been watching Somebody Feed Phil.
Oh, I love that.
And
We
we've
just
watched it.
finished that too.
Yeah, we just finished it. So,
Oh my God.
know,
I mean,
but,
you can watch it over and over again, I guess. But it's very uplifting, and I love Phil. He's so great.
yeah,
So-
he's amazing.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we just finished watching Samin Nosrat's thing, Salt, Acid.
I haven't seen that
That-
one, but
That's also, the book is really more about cooking, but it's about cooking, but it's like a travel show too. So
okay.
it's similar to Phil, but with more of the cooking side of it.
I see. Okay,
But
so he's just eating.
He's eating.
He's touring around eating. You know, who wouldn't want that job? That's like my dream job. The next one.
We also watched a really interesting one, and we made it through the whole series, Babylon Berlin.
Okay, I've
It's a
heard.
German series.
Really
It's all with subtitles, but that's also a fun series. I mean,
Okay.
it's about right around the time when the Nazis were coming in, so it's harsh, but
Yeah, it's a dark
very
one.
good series. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna have to check that out.
Mhm.
Summer or winter?
Summer,
Okay,
especially when we're in Switzerland or
that's true.
district in England or some,
Mhm.
because that's when we've always had time to do something. Also,
That's true. Sweet or salty?
oh, I'm not a sweet person particularly. Well, anybody can tell you that. No, I would say I go more in the direction of salt here. So
Got it. Breakfast or dinner?
I rarely eat breakfast.
Oh, okay.
I just have coffee.
That's interesting. Okay.
My wife makes me eat breakfast sometimes. She'll make an egg.
But what if you have to go to rehearsal? Do you get hungry?
No, I never got hungry until the break.
Wow. I mean,
don't
maybe
know
it's
why.
just how your body works, you know?
Yeah.
around that
I
schedule.
don't really understand it, but everybody will tell you that I'm wrong to do that. But I
Well, that's
really
great.
I never was like, oh, I gotta get out of here to eat.
Yeah, that's great that it works for you, you know?
Yeah.
Keeps you on a diet.
Well, I probably could have gotten worse. Yeah.
No! Cooking or taking out?
Well, I like cooking now,
Okay.
but we
Home.
don't particularly take out because in our area we can't really do that. But it's nice to go to a good restaurant once in
I
a
see.
while. They're only just starting to be available
That's true.
in the
Yeah.
last few weeks.
Are you a homebody or outdoorsy?
Homebody.
Yeah. I feel like I can answer all these questions now that I know you. But introvert or extrovert?
I'm very introverted.
Okay. Are you a morning person or a night owl?
You know, I used to be, of course, when I played the opera, I kind of had to be a night owl because you get home after one of these things and you can't go to sleep right away.
Yeah, because you're just thinking about the show.
But these days, I start crashing sometime between 10 and 11.
Me too.
Then I wake up very early and I can take a nap if I need to. But so it's really changed. It's really changed a lot.
Yeah, it changes depending on what you have to do, I guess, you know?
So
Are you a text message or a call person?
I'm more of a call person. But it's so funny. And no matter how I would communicate with my students when I had a bunch of them, whether it was phone or emails,
Mm-hmm.
that it was always text.
Yeah.
It seems like everybody in your generation is a text person.
That's true. Yeah, just like this
So
morning.
I've done more of that too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. Favorite restaurant in New York City? Would that be Anton's?
Oh, don't be silly. It's Anton's.
Yeah. Favorite coffee shop?
You know, when I taught at NYU, one afternoon it felt like an espresso, and there's one just off 6th Avenue. I don't remember the exact street, but it's called Joe.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that there's one near Lincoln Center, and Ugo recommended it too.
Oh, Joe's
But
Coffee.
I had the best espresso that I've ever had on this side of the Atlantic.
Whoa.
One day at Joe. So I would
Okay.
highly recommend that place.
Everyone's recommending that place, and I've been there and I love it. So
Mhm.
seems like the, people who love coffee go
I
there.
haven't really explored, but I mean, I've had a lot of good coffee in Italy, but
Mm-hmm.
I never had an espresso this good.
Perfect, and
on
it's
this
so
side of the
convenient.
Atlantic. Yeah.
So convenient because it's right there next to
Mhm.
the Met, so I'm gonna go every day. Favorite site for tourists to visit in New York City?
You know what's really great? Walk across the Brooklyn Bridge.
I've done it.
Have you done it?
Yes.
It's great. I just watched a video of Elliot Carter doing that.
What?
When he
Is
was
it on
in-
YouTube?
in the 80s. I don't know. I have it on a DVD, but it's a great walk on a good day. And
Yeah.
then when you get across, you can go to there's that Grimaldi's pizza place,
Mm-hmm.
or there's a restaurant called Henry's End, which is an old favorite of ours.
Yeah.
That's on Henry Street, and it's very, very close. But yeah, that's a great walk.
Yeah, it totally
Really
is.
fun, yeah.
It's a tradition to walk across the bridge, have Grimaldi's pizza, get
Yeah.
the ice cream, right? Have you had the ice cream? I
I
forgot
know I
what.
haven't had their ice cream. I took
Okay.
a couple of our Swiss friends.
It's on the dock. I forgot what it's called, but I'll have to check
Oh,
it
it's
out.
neighboring.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I took these Swiss girls down one time, and we're waiting in line to get in on Sunday afternoon. And they're from a small town, and this huge fire truck pulls up. And they're like, oh no, is there a fire? And they never saw a fire truck like that because they have volunteer fire departments.
Uh-huh.
So they were like taken aback by the size of the thing. And I said, I think I know what's going on. And a couple of these guys went in, and like 20 minutes later, they came out with stacks of pizza. Like,
Oh
you
my
know,
God.
there were like 12 pizzas, and then
Yeah.
they all went back to the firehouse.
Oh, they just wanted some pizza.
They
That's
just went there
hilarious.
to get pizza.
Well, it is such a good pizza place, so
It is.
everyone has to go. And to Anton's too. Favorite cuisine?
Well, of course, in my time in Spoleto, and with my cousin being an Italian chef, I have to say Italian.
Yeah,
But I
Italian's
like
really
Japanese
up there.
food, and I want to get more into real Chinese and Korean. It just isn't. It hasn't been the right time.
Yeah, at least for Korean food, I've been putting up some of my mom's cooking recipes, kind of.
I've seen a couple.
Yeah, it
Great.
takes a long time, I have to say, to make Korean dishes. But
Yes.
once you do make it, it's really satisfying and it's healthy for you. So,
Mhm.
I totally check it out. It's a little annoying to get the ingredients, because you have to go
Oh,
to.
I have an appointment with my repairman this afternoon,
Mm-hmm.
and I found out he just moved recently. He's on 32nd Street in the same building as H Mart.
Well, so he can bring you some
So
groceries.
I am going to make a stop this afternoon,
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
but he's right in the same building.
Well, that's perfect. That works
Couldn't
out.
believe Yeah,
Yeah, and where can people find you if they want to connect with you?
Facebook. I
Facebook.
theoretically I'm on Instagram, but I don't even know how it works. I put
Okay.
a few photos up, and then I have no idea what I'm doing with that. But
So-
Facebook, I'm very active on Facebook.
Great. Well, Joe, I think this is a great way to wrap it up. And so I just want to thank you again so much for your time and for sharing all you did with us. And a huge congratulations to you on your illustrious career and on your retirement. And though I wish we got to speak sooner in person, this was just really an honor to get this time to chat with you today.
I'll lean over the pit wall when the time comes.
Yeah, I can't wait. And so I just had a great time learning about you and, your life story, your amazing life story. And it really makes me excited for my future at the Met and in the Big Apple. And
it's a very, very, the most amazing group of people to work with.
Yeah.
Really, really it doesn't get better than that.
Seriously, best colleagues.
It always was that way. Such a supportive group. From my day one.
I hit the jackpot.
Always appreciated.
Yeah. In terms of people and colleagues, I just really won the lottery. So yeah, I hope the audience will see that too through these shows and through the podcast, and how amazing the individuals are who make up our orchestra as people and as musicians. So thank you so much for your time today and for sharing all your experiences with us, and especially for all your advice.
Well, it's been my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Take care.
Okay. See you around.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the 5th episode of Entr'acte with Julia. I'm Julia Choi, and my guest today was Joseph Anderer, who was the principal horn of the Met Orchestra for the past 36 seasons. That's it for today's episode, folks. I hope you had a great time learning about Joe. If you want to learn a little more about Joe, you can connect with him on Facebook at facebook.com/joseph.anderer.5. If you have a chance, please rate and review. Hit subscribe to keep up with new episodes, and pass it along to a friend. Thank you so much again for joining. I hope you'll come back for more. In the meantime, you can check out juliachoiviolinist.com/podcast. See you next week!